Alright, y'all know what it is. Y'all know what it's worth. Let's get this merch. Subscribe to the PDH Network. Alright, y'all see what's going on here? As y'all see the thumbnail, y'all read the title under the thumbnail. Yeah, so this video today is pertaining to how when TakeOff was set up, it drew a wedge between Quavo and Jas Prince. Now, I know at the same time, a lot of people don't care because folks just want justice for what happened with TakeOff. Yeah, so everybody know the history of Quavo and Jas Prince. Again, they've been tight for about 10 years. Like I told you guys before, always popping up at each other's functions with no problem, even family events, you understand? There's time when Quavo and TakeOff was invited out to J.Prince's birthday party. I'm talking about J.Prince Jr. and Jas Pops. So that's how knit tight Quavo and Jas Prince was. But again, until Quavo's nephew TakeOff got set up at Jas Prince's private event. Now again, at first it was all cool between Quavo and Jas Prince. I'm talking about even in the time that TakeOff had got set up. Because Jas Prince, he reached out to Quavo. He wanted to let Quavo know that if he needed any aid and assistance, that Jas would have his back. That's when at the same time, Quavo, he wanted to distance himself from Jas Prince and his brother MobTies affiliates. And the reason being because there was a lot of back and forth between both sides. And I'm talking about where they was blaming each other for what happened with TakeOff. Again, you have folks from Jas Prince Jr. camp saying that it was Migo Bands that blicky down and sent up TakeOff. Same thing went for the guys that came with the Migos. They would state that LilCam5th up the blicky. Now since LilCam5th got turned in, another guy by the name of Patrick Clark, they saying that he allegedly upped the blicky and sent up TakeOff. Before we get into it, as always, let's first pay our respects and say rest in peace to TakeOff, condolences to his family, and much love to all my folks in the ATL. Quavo, Offset, Lingo, y'all stay up out there, my brothers. And that's real talk, man. I know it's a lot going on, but trust me, in time, y'all will get justice for what happened with TakeOff. But yeah, man, let's get back to the story. So again, since there was a lot of back and forth between both sides pertaining to who actually did it, that's what further drew the wedge between Quavo and Jas Prince. I even told you guys before that just about a week ago that Quavo and TakeOff brother Lingo, they threw a function pertaining to TakeOff being set up. It was mostly a family and friends type of function. But that's where Jas Prince ended up pulling up. And TakeOff brother Lingo, he spotted him. And he had to let the people know, don't let Jas Prince in. But at the same time, Jas Prince and Quavo, they did have a conversation. And Quavo had to let him know, I know you're not that type of guy. But what happened to my nephew, it shouldn't have happened. But at the same time, even though Quavo is not placing it on Jas Prince, he still had to let him know the reason why they had to keep their distance. Y'all got to understand, Jas Prince, he never had a friend like Quavo. Because everybody else that's associated to Jas Prince is mostly using them guys. And I'm talking about him and his brother. Because most of the guys that's affiliated to J.Prince Jr. MobTies, I told you guys before, there's a lot of people out there in H-Town who also knows the fact that them guys don't respect J.Prince Jr. or Jas. So since Quavo knows this, and that's something I believe that Jas Prince know of. He know that most of the cats that hang around him don't respect him. That's why at the same time, he will always find himself linking up with Quavo. And sometimes TakeOff would even pop up with Quavo when Jas Prince would invite them guys out. But I'ma keep it 100 with you, my G. A lot of people don't even care if Quavo or Jas Prince don't ever make back up. Because right now, the only thing they want is justice for what happened with TakeOff, man. And that's real. But it still goes back to the fact that this should have never happened to TakeOff. That it should have been more order and structure at that private event. Especially if you got big names in the building like Quavo or TakeOff. Come on, man. You got to make sure everybody in there act accordingly. Or unless you get these type of outcomes. So again, even though Jas Prince is trying to make back up with Quavo for what happened to his nephew TakeOff, people are still going to look at the MobTies affiliates as having their hands in what happened with Duke the Jeweler and TakeOff. Because again, this is pertaining to J.Prince Jr. setting up these functions. The dice game y'all seen Duke the Jeweler at in H-Town, that was set up by J.Prince Jr. Same thing went for the private event where Quavo and TakeOff was invited to from Jas Prince. So if J.Prince Jr. is gonna set up these functions, he gotta make sure that his guys is acting accordingly. But yeah, man, we all know that them guys from H-Town, they spoke on the fact that the MobTies affiliates, they don't respect J.Prince Jr. or his brother Jas, man. And they move however they feel. They just always gonna have a cover story. So nothing comes back their way. But yeah, man, I got some folks in Chicago and ATL who speaking on the fact that J.Prince Jr., he ain't said nothing about TakeOff or Duke the Jeweler. What I mean, he ain't showed the family no love, no condolences, no I'm sorry this happened, you know what I'm saying? But Jas Prince, he is the one doing that. Jas Prince and they pops J.Prince. Again, J.Prince, he was the one that issued out a whole sorry apology and he wasn't even at the private event. But he understands, whatever his sons get into, it's gonna automatically trickle down to him. And he also spoke on the fact that the person who got something to do with it don't come running behind him. A lot of people thought he was talking about LilCam5th, but now the people seeing that he was actually talking about Patrick Clark, another guy that's a DJ. He's actually a DJ from Houston. But still, man, if J.Prince Jr. and his MobTies affiliates was at both events pertaining to TakeOff and Duke the Jeweler, who you think the people gonna point the finger at? Especially if he's the one that's telling them guys to check in with him. But again, Houston already knows the whole MobTies check-in is over with. Don't nobody respect it and ain't nobody standing on it. So again, going back to the private event. Yes, it was Jas Prince's birthday party private event, but his brother J.Prince Jr. is the one that set it up. So this goes back to the beginning where they were saying that the people who was let inside of the private event when J.Prince Jr. MobTies affiliates was standing at the door, they let in an extra person with a blicky. Because I told you guys how they had it, only one person from each side was able to carry the blicky. So since it was J.Prince Jr. MobTies affiliates who was standing at the door checking people, they made sure one extra person came in with a blicky. And this is where Patrick Clark comes in. Now at first, a lot of people didn't even know Patrick Clark until LilCam5th got turned in. I told y'all, man, J.Prince, he feels like he did his part by turning in LilCam5th. And LilCam5th bringing up Patrick Clark is the one that actually upped the blicky. And that's the person that Migo Bands had a back and forth with, not LilCam5th. But again, this whole video is based on both sides not seeing who actually upped the blicky and sent up TakeOff. So again, that drew a wedge between Quavo and Jas Prince, and how Jas Prince, he been trying to do everything in his power to let Quavo know that he had nothing to do with it. And at the same time, still trying to give some type of aid and assistance to Quavo because he understands what Quavo is going through. But again, by both sides, point fingers at one another, saying that it was somebody from your camp and the other camp saying no, and the other camp saying it's somebody that's affiliated to you guys. But yeah, it's going to be some time before Quavo get over what happened to his nephew. And Quavo, he may get over it faster than Lingo and Offset. Because Offset, he's still heated based on what happened with TakeOff. So he's still gonna press the issue on Jas Prince and J.Prince Jr. MobTies affiliates. And at the same time, while Jas is popping up, trying to make everything right with Quavo, because again, he understands what he going through. While his brother, J.Prince Jr., he don't care. He ain't gave out no shout out or condolences pertaining to what happened with TakeOff or Chicago's own Duke the Jeweler. Yeah, we know HPD trying to get everything handled with the whole TakeOff case, and they just got an arrest pertaining to Patrick Clark because we know LilCam5th coughed him up. But at the same time, they still got to handle Duke the Jeweler case because his people, his folks want to know where's all the missing jewelry at. You feel me? Even though the HPD is not talking about it because they going back and forth with TakeOff family and Quality Control Music CEOs, Coach K and P, pertaining to the whole incident. But at the same time, you still have those that's affiliated to Duke the Jeweler. They want answers pertaining to what happened with him and H-Town after the Dice game. So right now, it seems like HPD, they got a full plate. People are speaking on the fact that J.Prince, he paid those people off. But yeah, we got more in store. But as always, y'all know what it is. Y'all know what it's worth. Let's get this merch. Subscribe to the PDH Network.